looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the third!
A timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from...
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA. Let's get the camera situated correctly here. All good, all good. Welcome to another episode, though, guys. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. If you're already tuned in, if you're about to tune in, always appreciate the listen, the views, everything, interaction. We do this for engagement. That's what this is all about. So make sure you are hitting that subscribe button on the DSM Media YouTube channel. That is the most important page we are trying to grow on. Yes, we're on all social media networks. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of them, Twitch. But YouTube is where we are consistently trying to grow. This is how we can expand our brand and how we can financially support our brand once we would get to the correct subscriber count, the correct watch hour times, right, where we can bring even better experiences, even better coverage, even better conversation with better technology and better financial support. So any way you can help DSM grow, we, of course, appreciate you. If you can't, it is totally fine. A subscription is free, but nonetheless, take a view for yourself first. Make sure you like our content, and then if you want to hit the subscribe button, we can go from there. But nonetheless, turn the notifications on so you're notified every single time DSM Media goes live. And as well as that, make sure you are, if you're not already following me, you can find me on all social media accounts at Scotty Drown. That's Instagram, Twitter, once again, TikTok, all of the above. Today, what we're going to get into a little bit of NBA power rankings. Obviously, we're going to talk about the updated power rankings I have for you guys. We're going to talk about AD and the Lakers. There's been a lot of talk about that. They've been playing well lately. Obviously, they took the loss last night in Cleveland, but when AD is healthy this season, he has been balling, and this team looks very dangerous. I want to talk about if that danger is real in the Western Conference. So we'll get into that. As well as AD and the Lakers, we'll talk, kind of carrying on that point, we'll talk about the top 10 players in the NBA right now. AD is on that list, full disclosure. He's balling right now, like I said. So we're going to go over the top 10 players I have for you right now in the NBA. That's totally opinion-based, right? Like, nobody's going to fully agree on the top 10 players, especially right now. We could probably come to a consensus as far as an overall grand scheme top 10 of the players in the league right now. But I'm talking about who's playing the best basketball right now and whose teams are benefiting the most from it. After that, we'll get into Wednesday night picks, as we always do. I got my record. I actually went 9-4 last week on Wednesday night picks, so I'm proud of myself. I'm trying to build credibility here on Scotty Talks NBA. You want to take my picks? Well, I need to hold myself accountable, let you guys know how I'm doing with my picks before I go and tell you guys to go and trust what I'm saying. So each and every week, we will recap what happened last Wednesday as far as my record on the picks, and then we'll go over the Wednesday night action for tonight, and I'll give you my picks there. And then, of course, we'll go straight into best bets. That won't be too long. I actually got 2 plays for you. They're going to be super quick. But as you can probably tell by now, this is not a live episode. This is a pre-recorded episode. The reason I did that last few episodes, I've been having to rush through things. I've been, going on a strict deadline to get the content out to you guys. I wanted to come in calm, cool, collected, make sure we have enough time to go over everything that we want to this week, and just get you the rightful content, the nice pace content that you deserve. So that is the reason we're going with the pre-recorded. I will be live in the future. That is the main thing for me. I love going live. I love getting involved with the commenters, the audience. But today will be pre-recorded if you don't know by now. So you'll be viewing this around 5 p.m. Nonetheless, you'll still get it before the games actually happen tonight, which is always great. Always the point here. So before we get into actual content, as always, we do have some housekeeping here with DSM Media. If you don't know by now, DSM Media is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of the 2 great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft, and it shows, rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. Multiple award-winning barbers and being able to handle any style of cut, adult or kid. and let's take a look at some of Gent's work. Check this out. All right, perfect. Shout out to Gents Barber Lounge. Love the haircuts. Love getting the cut there. And be sure to check out gentsbarberlounge.com. Book your appointment today. As I said, one of the best barbershops in the city of Philadelphia. You can find 2 locations in Old City and Fishtown. Be sure to check out gentsbarberlounge.com today. And, of course, check out luxodon.com, who is our other sponsor. You can find some of the greatest jewelry selection online for great prices. And you can use code DSM at checkout to get 25% off and free shipping. Shout out to luxodon.com. Shout out to Gents Barber Lounge. Be sure to check both of those out. But, guys, let's get to the actual content, what we're actually here to talk about today. So we're going to start with last night's action. Actually, some pretty interesting games, if you ask me. Now, the first one, it kind of got derailed by AD. He's dealing with some flu-like symptoms. But nonetheless, the late game, the Mavs and the Nuggets, that was a nail-biter down to the end. You had the Mavs on the back end of a back-to-back taking on the Nuggets. And the Nuggets were actually favored in this one. So we'll get into all of that now. We'll start with the Lakers at Cavs. So obviously you had LeBron returning home to Cleveland, take on the Cleveland Cavs. Every time LeBron comes home, he balls out in Cleveland, rightfully so. He's one of the greatest players of all time. You would imagine any sort of extra motivation is going to take him to a new level. So no surprise there. But you do have the Cavs actually pulling this one out, ruining LeBron's return home. Cavs have gone to a new place, right? They're in a better space since LeBron left. They're not that team that is like the little brother to LeBron, needing LeBron for everything anymore. They got their own squad now. So you had the Cavs beating the Lakers 116-102 in this game. As I mentioned, AD left early on in this game, first half with flu symptoms. He got kind of hit near his upper body, started touching at his nose and speaking about kind of like he couldn't breathe, something of that nature. So he left the game. Obviously, it left it up to LeBron. LeBron finishes this game, 21 points, 17 rebounds, 4 assists. So he gave it his all out there. There's just not – you can only ask of LeBron so much. And I think this 14-point loss to the Cavs kind of speaks to where the Lakers are at and what we'll talk about after right after this, quite honestly, if the Lakers are dangerous enough or not. If AD is not in this lineup, they don't have a chance, right? They're not going to win anything. LeBron can't be the pilot, right? He can't be the Batman anymore. AD is the Batman. LeBron is more of the Robin, an elevated Robin, I will say. I'm not trying to diss LeBron here. He's just not on an AD top 5 player level anymore to where he can carry a team to a win against another great team. The Cavs are a great team. So yeah, the Lakers with LeBron, they can beat some of the minimal teams in the West, some of the minimal teams in the East without AD. But when it comes to getting into legit teams that are going to be in the playoffs and stamped in the playoffs, the Lakers aren't going to be able to beat those teams without Anthony Davis on the court. And this game spoke to it. But you had Donovan Mitchell going off in this game, and you can't say enough about that addition for the Cleveland Cavaliers. 43 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 for 8 from the three-point line. He has improved his three-point shooting so much, and that speaks a lot because he was already a good three-point shooter. He's improved it, gotten up over 40% on the year, and that just takes his game to a whole other level, right? Because Donovan Mitchell could already play at all 3 levels. He could already drive, get to the rack. He's insanely athletic. He can dunk on you. He has the floater game. He has the mid-range game. Now he's become a more efficient three-point shooter. Like I said, he was a good one before, up over 40%. I believe he's up over 42%. I actually have it on the next page of notes here, and we'll go over it under the top 10 players because disclosure, Donovan Mitchell is one of them. He's shooting up over 40%. I believe he's up over 42% on the season from the three-point line, which is just incredible for a guy with his athletic ability. So 43 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists for Donovan Mitchell. You also had Jared Allen return in this game as well. The Cleveland Cavaliers starting center had him return. He had over 20 points in the first half, only missed 1 shot in the first half. There was a lot of talk about him at halftime and his domination. But the Lakers long story short, just didn't have enough in this one. And it'll be like that if they don't have Anthony Davis going forward. If you don't know by now, Anthony Davis and LeBron are out tonight against the Toronto Raptors. So good luck there. Next, we got the Pistons. The Detroit Pistons at the Miami Heat. To your surprise, Detroit comes away with the win here. And they actually win by close to 20 points. Actually, 20 points on the dot, 116-96. Detroit Pistons win over the Miami Heat. Now, in this game, you got to be honest, there's no Jimmy Butler, so that speaks a lot to it. But you did have Bojan Bogdanovic, 31 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, 7 for 9 from the three-point line for the Detroit Pistons. On the other side of that, on the Miami Heat, Tyler Herro's been trying his best with Jimmy Butler out. 34 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, 12 for 17 from the field. Super efficient night for Herro. But just not enough for the Miami Heat in this one, quite honestly. Taking on the Pistons at home, and it's going to be a struggle without Jimmy Butler. As you know, Jimmy Butler does a lot for this Miami Heat team. He covers up a lot of holes. He gives it his all every time he goes out there. It is hard to replace that. Tyler Herro, like I said, is doing his best. Bam Adebayo's stepping up, but not enough. They're gonna need to figure some things out. Hopefully Jimmy Butler gets back soon, but nonetheless, a bad loss for the Miami Heat against a Detroit Pistons team who has a lot of young talent, but quite honestly, a Miami Heat team, even without Jimmy Butler, shouldn't lose this Detroit Pistons team. Let's be honest. Finishing off with the last game of the night, we had the Dallas Mavericks at the Denver Nuggets. This was actually a 1-point victory for the Dallas Mavericks, 116-115. And as I look at all these scores from last night, every single winner won with the score of 116. So 116 must have been the lucky number of the night last night. If you had a lottery ticket, hopefully it had 116 on it because it seemed to be the winning number last night. But nonetheless, you had Lakers at Cavs, 116-102 win for the Cavs. Pistons at Heat, 116-96 win for Detroit. And Mavs at Nuggets, 116-115 win for the Dallas Mavericks. In this game with the Dallas Mavericks, you had Luka with the triple-double. This is actually a really efficient, well-paced game from Luka. Spread the ball around really well. 22 points, 12 assists, 10 rebounds for Luka. You had Tim Hardaway Jr. with 29 points. He shot 6 for 8 from the three-point line. On the other side of things, you had Nikola Jokic with 19 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. That's a fairly modest night for Nikola Jokic. And then off the bench, you had Bones Highland, who I had spoke about in recent weeks as a 6th man of the year candidate. He keeps up his play. 20 points last night, 5 for 10 from the three-point line, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. So he's doing a little bit of everything off the bench there. And as I mentioned, he can be a spark plug for this Denver Nuggets team. You look at this. This is on the tail end of a back-to-back for the Dallas Mavericks. It's an impressive win on the road in Denver. For the Nuggets, they just got to start putting together some wins here. I know Michael Porter Jr. is not in this one. You have Jamal Murray there. You have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Aaron Gordon played in this one. Bruce Brown. So you had everybody else. There's no excuse here on the tail end of a back-to-back. You just got to grab a W here at home. But nonetheless, the Dallas Mavericks are a tough team. So it's not necessarily a bad loss, I guess you could say. But just didn't match up to the competition last night, I guess you could say, for the Denver Nuggets, who I actually think very highly of as a full unit here. That's going to be it for the Tuesday night action. We'll move on from that. Obviously, we had the Mavs, Cavs, and the Pistons coming away with dubs last night. Just a 3-game slate. Obviously, we got a much bigger slate tonight, which we'll go over later. But right now, I want to get into AD and the Lakers. Are the Lakers dangerous? Are they dangerous in the West? Are they dangerous in general? And it's actually a funny topic of conversation. As you guys know, as you can see in the background, I'm a Philadelphia fan. I'm a Sixers fan. And the Sixers actually played the Lakers on Friday. And James Harden has returned. We'll see, AD, LeBron. LeBron was an ankle injury, so we'll see if he returns on Friday. I would imagine he's just sitting because it's back-to-back. AD flu-like symptoms. I would imagine they just want to give him a few days just to get right rather than send him back out there partially sick again if he can even go at all. So I would imagine AD, LeBron both could be back on Friday. You also had Patrick Beverley, who was doubtful with a knee injury tonight. So a lot of missing pieces there where, yeah, if those pieces are missing on Friday, that's the Sixers W, of course. But, I mean, I would hope. The Sixers just lost to the Rockets, to be fair. But nonetheless, it's an interesting topic of conversation because you think about a team like the Lakers. If you asked me at the beginning of the season, am I going to be scared of the Lakers or I shouldn't say at the beginning of the season, about a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the season, the Lakers off to that terrible start. No AD in and out of the lineup, LeBron in and out of the lineup. If you'd asked me then, am I scared that the Sixers might drop a game to the Lakers? Who, let's be honest, the Sixers have not lived up to their expectations so far this season, but head-to-head, I would still pick the Sixers to beat the Lakers with all bias put to the side, quite honestly. Two teams that are underachieving. I would say the Sixers are still a better team than the LA Lakers as far as roster construction. You look at that, and I don't feel that way anymore. I look at this. If AD and LeBron play on Friday, the Lakers have a chance of beating the Sixers. That doesn't say a lot because the Sixers aren't the team to beat in the NBA right now. When you go into Boston and Milwaukee, that's when you know if you are actually dangerous, I guess you could say, or a contender. But nonetheless, they are dangerous when AD is on the floor because they can beat anybody on any given night. Say AD goes off. A good example last week, and the only reason I remember this so well is because DraftKings had a special running where it was like plus 150 or plus 100 if you ride Golden State winning and Milwaukee winning last week. Milwaukee was playing the Lakers. Golden State was playing I can't remember. They won nonetheless. They won the game, but the Lakers were actually able to beat the Bucks, and that was actually last Friday. Yes, now I remember exactly. So it was Chris Middleton's first game back, and you had the Lakers come in and beat the Bucks, and I believe it was in Milwaukee as well. And you had AD drop, I believe it was over 40 points in that game. He was a monster. He's unstoppable. And you look at him in that game, it's like, is AD the only one that can go like head to head with Giannis? Like head to head. I've seen Embiid have battles with Giannis, and yes, they can go back and forth, but they never really guard each other, right? AD and Giannis, I feel like guard each other. At least they should be guarding each other. They play relatively the same type of basketball, although AD, he's such a more skilled player when it comes to shooting the basketball, scoring the basketball than Giannis. Obviously, Giannis has maybe more athletics. Maybe he's faster, right? He's probably like a more aggressive on a fast break. But is he really more athletic than AD? I don't know. AD's length and they're both freaks. Let's just leave it at that. But nonetheless, that was a good example of AD becoming an equalizer. AD, you go into a game against the Brooklyn Nets with the LA Lakers. AD is a KD equalizer, right? You go into a game with the Sixers, AD is an Embiid equalizer. You go into the Celtics, AD is a Tatum equalizer, so on and so forth. Now, Celtics a little bit different of an example because I think they're on a different level. But nonetheless, this team is dangerous. That's the only point I'm trying to get at here. Now, understand they are 10-13 right now in the season. They're 13th in the Western Conference, so they're completely out of the playoff picture, not even in the play-in. But nonetheless, they are only 5.5 games back of just the 1 seed. That's how close the Western Conference is right now. They're 3 games back of 500. And ultimately, they're 7-3 in their last 10, and that's been with a consistent dose. Not even LeBron. LeBron hasn't been in all of those 10 games. It's been AD. And that is my main point here is that AD as the driving force for the Lakers, as the 1A option, you could say, I know I hit a Batman Robin reference for LeBron. That's not the right reference. LeBron is no Robin. 1A, 1B is the best way to put it. AD has to be 1A. LeBron is 1B. I loved what Monica McNutt said on First Take earlier, the comparison she gave. It was AD is the driver. LeBron is the driver's ed passenger seat driver, right? It has the brakes on his side still. He can control the car in a sense. But nonetheless, AD has control of the steering wheel. That's the best way to put this because AD needs to be the focal point of the Lakers offense. I think LeBron needs to be that guy that fills in when needed in a sense. So like if AD's having an off night, yeah, LeBron, let's go 25 plus, 30 plus. But we don't need to rely on 37, 38-year-old LeBron to go out there and put up 30 a night. That needs to be AD. He's the young star here that needs to lead the way. LeBron is that guy with experience, the capability, but not on a nightly basis. He shouldn't be called upon to do it. And I think that's when the Lakers are their most dangerous. You look at Anthony Davis on the season, 27.3 points per game, 12.3 rebounds per game, leads the NBA, 2.6 assists per game, 1.3 steals per game, 2.3 blocks per game. Literally, if the Lakers could just get into contention, if they could get into the playoff picture, we would be talking about AD as an MVP candidate right now, and quite honestly, a defensive player of the year. We got to see a little bit more from the Lakers before we can get into talks like that. Talk about LeBron. As I mentioned, this is not a knock on LeBron as far as calling AD 1A. AD's just spectacular. He's a spectacular talent, right? He's younger. He's much younger than LeBron, and he's the guy that needs to be doing this. But LeBron on this season, 25.8 points per game, 9.1 rebounds per game, 6.4 assists per game. So LeBron, it's not that LeBron is washed or fell off, anything like that. AD is just on a different plane right now as far as his talent level and what he's capable of. But LeBron's still doing his thing. Another thing I wanted to point out about the Lakers here, Russell Westbrook caught a lot of heat to start this season. A lot of it in which I just didn't think it was fair. Like, I get it. He was playing bad. He was shooting the ball bad. He was turning the ball over. But when you looked at this roster, I mean, it was clear as day that this just was not a good fit for Russ, especially in that starting lineup. You had him starting like beside Patrick Beverley. Like, that's not where Russ needs to be used. He doesn't really need to be used handling the ball beside LeBron, so he didn't need to be in the starting lineup beside LeBron. Now you've moved him into a role where he'll spend a little bit of time on the court with AD and LeBron here and there, but it's never going to be full-time to where Russ is still going to be able to handle the ball, distribute, run the offense just like he likes to without hurting his ego, his confidence. But then at the same time, you still have your first unit running the way you want it to and having somebody out there to kind of spread the court, right? Lonnie Walker in there. He's been a solid addition as well. But Russ on the season, 14.6 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game, 7.5 assists per game. That's good production, guys. Like, that's where I leave it, because he's been excelling in this bench role, and it seems to be what was missing for Russ and this Lakers team, quite honestly, because they've just been playing better basketball. And he seems to be a nice, energized Russell Westbrook when he comes off the bench. He seems free. He seems like he's playing loose. And that's the Russ you want to see. I'm not saying that we really need to apologize to him. Just lay off a little bit. That's all I'm saying. This guy has just been trying to live, get his money, play basketball, try to go after a championship with LeBron and AD. That's all he's trying to do. And LA obviously comes with the drama, the speculation. But I just don't think Russ has gotten his fair shake when it comes to media perception, the way fans and analysts talk about him. It's just not really fair for a guy that is most likely going to go into the NBA Hall of Fame. So just wanted to say that about Russ. Give him his flowers right now, right? He's playing a lot better, and he's seeming to fit in with the Lakers a lot better. As I mentioned, Lonnie Walker's been a great addition. Austin Reeves, he's a nice surprise. He looks to be like a legitimate role player in the NBA. He does a lot of the little things that you need. It seems like they found like another little Alex Caruso. I don't know if that's like borderline racist to say just because they're both white, but they do a lot of the similar things. They play good defense. They hustle. They rebound. They can hit the three. So they are very similar in ways. But my one main thing about the Lakers, while they're dangerous, yes, to answer the question, AD and the Lakers, as long as they're healthy, they are dangerous. AD gives you a chance at every game. The West is so deep. The West is so deep. So, like, if they go and they miss the playoffs, it doesn't mean that they aren't dangerous every time that they step on the court. It just means they weren't good enough in the West, which is not saying a lot when you look at the talent pool in the Western Conference this season. But I definitely think don't sleep on the Lakers. I will not be sleeping on the Lakers this Friday when the Sixers take them on. And we'll see what they got. We'll see if they can stay healthy, first of all. And then from there, if they can figure this out with Russ Westbrook, AD and LeBron, and if they can get some shooting in, right? They need some type of shooting. A legitimate pure shooter or two added to this roster would do amazing numbers for this roster. But nonetheless, they're dangerous, to say the least. We'll see what they got the rest of the season. The next thing I want to get into are power rankings. We're going to get into my updated top 10 power rankings. You're going to see, as I've just mentioned, the Western Conference is a little bit deeper than the Eastern Conference. They, my top 10 power rankings actually have, I believe, just 1, 2, 3 3 Eastern Conference teams. So interesting enough, yeah, it's my top 10 is dominated by the Western Conference, which just speaks to the level of ball that I feel the Western Conference teams are playing at. But nonetheless, let's get into the power rankings here. Got a little graphic for you guys. Shout out to my guy, KC. So we'll start at the bottom here, as we do always. We got the Dallas Mavericks here. Obviously coming off the big win against the Denver Nuggets last night. And I believe the Dallas Mavericks have actually took the last 2 nights. Let me see here. Yeah, so back-to-back nights, Mavericks go, and they beat the Denver Nuggets last night, and the night before that took on the Golden State Warriors. Mind you, the Warriors are not playing their starters tonight. No Steph Curry, no Andrew Wiggins, and I believe no Draymond Green. I'll have to take a look at that later. But they did have those guys in this game against Dallas, and that was on the front end of Dallas's back-to-back. They were able to come away with a 116-113 win against the Warriors. Then last night, a 116-115 win against the Denver Nuggets. I really like this Mavs team. I love what Luka's doing. Obviously, Luka's an MVP candidate, if not the guy that's in the lead for it. But I love what they have around him. They've added Christian Wood, who is a guy that you don't need to call on him every single night, especially his play style, because he's kind of a stretch 4, stretch 5. But off the bench, giving you 13 to 15 points a night, you can't ask for much more than that. You talk about the starting lineup. You spread the floor with Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, Max Kleber. You bring in Tim Hardaway Jr. You got Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench. Josh Green's been giving you good minutes. My guy, Powell. Yeah, you got Powell. I believe he's actually starting with Kleber. So this team is fairly deep, I would say, to start. But on top of it, they just kind of put the right pieces for when you have a Luka that is looking for his teammates and spreading the floor. They got the right pieces to do that, and I love what they've done there in Dallas. And I think they're going to get better as the season goes on. They're only 13-11 right now, 2 games above 500. They're 5-5 in their last 10. But I think there is a lot of room to grow with this Dallas Mavericks team, and everybody's starting to fill in and fit their roles there. So I love what the Mavericks are doing. Number 9, we have the Sacramento Kings re-entering the top 10. And it's interesting because this Kings team, they're 13-9. They dropped out of the top 10 last week, the week before they were in. Now back in again. They came around, started to prove themselves again. And I'm starting to believe, man, they had a couple big wins last week, high-scoring matchups for the Sacramento Kings. They can put up points. That's one thing that you cannot deny. This Sacramento Kings team can put up points. Are they going to be able to defend? Are they going to be able to do the little things that will win you games against the top talent in the Western Conference? Hard to say right now, but 13-9, you look at them, they're 7-3 in their last 10, and a plus 4.1 point differential for the Sacramento Kings, who are currently 4th in the Western Conference. So interesting enough, you got Dallas at 7th in the Western Conference, Sacramento 4th in the Western Conference right now, coming in at number 9. Number 8, the LA Clippers. This one's interesting. They have not been in my top 10 just yet, and it's been based on health, but I actually love what they've been doing even without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, who actually returned tonight for the Clippers against the Orlando Magic. The Clippers right now are 14-11. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Now, mind you, a lot of those games have not been played with PG-13 and Kawhi, the Claw. Right now, the Clippers are 6th in the Western Conference. You get PG back tonight. I don't trust Kawhi Leonard's health. I don't trust that he can play tonight and then not play the next game or the next 3, next 4, might not play the next month or so, whatever the case may be with Kawhi. I do trust PG-13. If he's able to play, he's going to play. And when he plays, the Clippers are really good. So even without Kawhi, I still trust this Clippers team, which is why I have them at number 8. Even though I don't trust Kawhi and his health, I do trust this team whenever they got PG-13. He returns tonight. We'll see what the Clippers can do as they get a little bit healthier. But right now, 14-11 in the Western Conference, 6-4 in their last 10. Number 7, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. I got to see them firsthand last week. I believe that was on Friday against the Sixers. That was a really tough one. I saw Embiid have a rough night against Steven Adams, which is interesting because Steven Adams brings a level of physicality and grittiness that goes with this Memphis Grizzlies team. Then you throw in a Jaren Jackson Jr., who is just lengthy, athletic, relentless on the boards, relentless shot blocker. This Memphis Grizzlies team is still really good, even without Bane in the lineup right now. Obviously, Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks is playing at a high level right now. Memphis Grizzlies right now, 15-9. They're 6-4 in their last 10. And they're actually third in the Western Conference right now, which is interesting when I bring up my next team, which is the Denver Nuggets. So I had the Denver Nuggets at number 6 over the Memphis Grizzlies. If you argued with me, you want the Grizzlies over the Nuggets, I will not argue against you. I just think the Nuggets coming into last night were on a better pace. Last night was a bad, not a good loss, I would say, to the Mavericks. But nonetheless, I still do like what this Denver Nuggets team presents, especially the additions that they made in the offseason. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Bruce Brown, and then obviously Bones Hyland elevating Bones Hyland elevating his game to another level, putting himself in the sixth man of the year conversation, but then also adding Michael Porter Jr. back to the mix. I know he's out right now. Jamal Murray added back to the mix. I love what this Denver Nuggets team has. Jokic, in my opinion, has not been playing at the level that he has his previous 2 seasons where he was at an MVP level, but he's still playing at a very good high level, right? Good enough for this team to be successful. I expect him to pick up his play to a further extent as well, just to kind of pick up the slack of Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. right now. That's kind of what he's been doing the last 2 seasons. It's almost like he felt like he didn't have to this year. He still needs to do that, and I believe his play is going to elevate at some point in this season. But nonetheless, I have the Denver Nuggets 14-10 coming in at number 6 in my power rankings. They're 5-5 in their last 10 and currently number 5 in the Western Conference. Now we get into the top 5. This is where things really haven't changed much aside from the number 5, right? So we'll talk about them. It's the New Orleans Pelicans. If you watch my show, you know I love the New Orleans Pelicans. You know I love Zion. Got the Duke hat on right now. They also got Brandon Ingram. They got a couple Duke guys on that New Orleans squad. But nonetheless, I love what they're doing right now. They're one of the hottest teams in the NBA. And one of the more surprising teams, I would say, for everybody else in the NBA. I knew this team was going to be good. I didn't put a ceiling on what they could do. I did put a basement. I put a floor on it because this team is too good to be missing out on the playoffs this year. The Western Conference is stacked, but this roster is so well put together. The only disadvantage that you could argue for this New Orleans roster is experience. But you bring in guys like CJ McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., guys that have experience in the playoffs, have played in on championships caliber rosters. I shouldn't say played in championship situations, but championship contending caliber rosters. And I think that's enough to lead this team right now. Maybe not to a championship, maybe not to a Western Conference Finals, but to a playoff berth into the second round of the playoffs potentially. But right now, they're at the top of the Western Conference with the Phoenix Suns. They're second in the West at 15-8. You look at their recent resume, they're 8-2 in their last 10. That's literally tied with the Boston Celtics for the hottest team in the last 10 games. And they're sitting at a +7 point differential, which is also top 5 in the NBA right now. This New Orleans Pelicans team, as they get healthier right now, Brandon Ingram's not playing, Zion's back in, CJ McCollum playing. As this team gets healthier, you get Brandon Ingram, CJ, and Zion playing it all at the same time. They are going to be hard to beat. It doesn't just stop with those 3. It's a very deep roster. We just saw my man Jose Alvarado, Grand Theft Alvarado, go off, have a 30-plus, maybe even a 40-plus night. I actually can't remember what it was. Let me get that pulled up here for us. Because my man had a big night the other night. 38 points. So I was right in between there. So 38 points for Jose Alvarado the other night against the Denver Nuggets in a game where they beat them 121-106. This Pelicans team is nothing to play with. You got guys like Herb Jones, my man Trey Murphy, who can shoot the lights out. Valanciunas, he doesn't get any type of credit around the league, but he's another guy that can give you a double-double a night. This Pelicans team is very dangerous coming in at number 5, number 2 in the Western Conference right now. Coming in at number 4, the top 4 remain the same. They remain in the same order. We got the Cleveland Cavaliers, who took care of business against the Lakers last night. They're 16-9. They're 7-3 in their last 10, plus 6.6 point differential. As I mentioned, love the addition of Donovan Mitchell. It's making a hell of a difference in their team and what they've been able to do to start the season. Still getting guys back in the mix, right? Jared Allen, getting added back to the mix last night. So just keeping guys healthy, building that chemistry. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be really good this year. I got to take the cap off to them. The Phoenix Suns coming in at number 3. They haven't missed a beat. Once again, Devin Booker leading the way there. He's got to be in your MVP considerations at this point with what he's doing with no Chris Paul out there. Shout out to Mikal Bridges stepping up as a legitimate number 2 for the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, like what they're doing at the top of the Western Conference at 16-8. Number 2, nothing's changed there. We have the Milwaukee Bucks, second ranked team in the Eastern Conference at 17-6. They stayed steady, right? Without Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton's back now. We'll see how long it takes for him to get really up to speed and get moving on all cylinders. But nonetheless, this is still a really good team that was able to stay afloat without him. He's only going to add to what they're doing here. 17-6 right now in the Eastern Conference, 7-3 in their last 10. And then finally, number 1, Boston Celtics at 20-5, man. And you know, the Bucks are still putting some things together. They're figuring it out with Chris Middleton. You have the Phoenix Suns who are waiting on Chris Paul. You got to see what they look like at full strength. Cleveland Cavaliers are still learning, down, so on and so forth. Obviously, you have other teams, the Sixers. You have the Warriors who are not pictured here. And plenty of other teams that are not as well. Hawks, Pacers, Nets have looked really good of late. I don't think there's any team in the NBA that's on the Boston Celtics level. I don't know if it's close right now. I think there's teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, like the Phoenix Suns that could get there. Obviously, the Golden State Warriors won the championship last year. They can get there. But Memphis Grizzlies get Desmond Bane back. Clippers get healthy. Yeah, there's teams that can get there, maybe. But this Celtics team is so far ahead right now as far as what they're doing defensively, offensively. They've come out just on fire offensively to start the season. They've had to figure out some things defensively. They're starting to get around to that. And guess what? They're going to get Robert Williams back here soon. Malcolm Brogdon's been in and out of the lineup. Hopefully he can get healthy. They got Marcus Smart back in the lineup. Jaylen Brown's playing out of his mind. Jason Tatum has got to be top 3 in MVP discussions here. They're 20-5. They're 8-2 in their last 10. There's a +8 point differential, leads the NBA. I mean, you just could go on and on about this Boston Celtics team. I don't enjoy talking about them like this. I'm a Sixers fan. I'm a Philly fan. I don't like Boston. I don't like Boston fans. I don't like their organizations. But these guys are playing on an elevated plane right now. There's nobody really close right now. And you got a good matchup tonight, a good barometer game. Let's see how close these teams really are when you have the Boston Celtics taking on the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix tonight. It should be a very interesting game. But that rounds out my top 10. You have the Boston Celtics at number 1, Milwaukee number 2, Phoenix at number 3, Cleveland Cavaliers at number 4, Pelicans coming in to round the top 5 out. Starting the bottom 5 of the top 10, you have the Denver Nuggets at 6, Memphis at 7, LA Clippers at 8, Sacramento at 9, and the Dallas Mavericks to round out the updated top 10 NBA power rankings this week on Scotty Talks NBA. Definitely let me know how you guys are feeling in the comments. Any disputes? If you think there's a team missing that should be in there, if you think there's a team that absolutely does not belong on here, let me know. As I mentioned, some honorable mentions: Hawks, Pacers, Nets, and even the Golden State Warriors have been playing some better ball recently. That wraps up the power rankings. Still got quite a few things to get to here, but nonetheless, we got plenty of time. Got about 20 minutes here to wrap everything up. We've talked about the top 10 teams in the NBA as far as right now. We talked about the Lakers, AD. Are they dangerous? Obviously went over the action from last night. Stay on the same page here, though. Top 10s, AD. We're going to talk about the top 10 players in the NBA right now. This is my list. Obviously, I would love to hear yours. If you want to just maybe put your top 5. I know it's a lot to put top 10 in the comments. Put your top 5 in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. I would love to chat back and forth about that. Obviously, I'll get back to you in the comments there as this is pre-recorded. But definitely let me know how you're feeling here as I list these 10 players off to you. I do have some honorable mentions as well. I want to give credit where it's due because 10 players in the NBA right now is really, really hard to just drag it down to 10. Now, obviously, there's only so many that can really, be proven to be put into that top 10. But man, there's quite a few alternative options there. So I'll start I'll start at number 1. We'll go 1 through 10 here to kind of build the suspense because I feel the lower in the list, the more surprising things may get. So number 1, this one might be surprising in itself. I actually still have Giannis as the number 1 player in the NBA right now. He's averaging 31.9 points per game, 11.3 rebounds per game, 5.5 assists per game, shooting 54.4% from the field, averages 1.1 blocks per game, second in the NBA in scoring, 5th in rebounding, obviously averaging over 5 assists a game. Does it on both sides of the court, has kept this Bucks team afloat without Chris Middleton, has them second in the Eastern Conference at 17-5. Giannis just does everything, right? His jump shot's been improving. You can just go on and on about Giannis. Let's be honest. Maybe number 2 will create some clarity of where I'm at with my best players in the NBA right now. Number 2, I have Luka Doncic. I think it's arguable to put him up above Giannis. The reason I give Giannis the nod, defensive purposes. That's really it. But on the other side of it, you could say Luka is the more skilled player in reality. Production-wise, he may be the more productive player as well. Luka Doncic, 32.9 points per game. That's first in the NBA, so he leads Giannis in that. 8.6 rebounds per game, 8.7 assists per game. That's fourth in the NBA. He's shooting 50.3% from the field. He averages 1.7 steals per game. So while I said I give Giannis the nod on defense, Luka holds his own in a sense on the defensive side there when it comes to getting the passing lanes. Luka does everything for this Mavs team, similar to what Giannis does for the Bucks too, but maybe to an even further extent. That's why I would put Luka over Giannis as far as MVP candidates right now. But the guy has an endless limit to his talent. He's only going to get better if he can just get in even better shape. He's came into this season probably in the best shape since he's entered the NBA, just because he played in the Euro League over the summer. If he can get into even better conditioning, even better shape, allow himself to be even more mobile in the defensive end, I think the sky is the limit for Luka and what he can do. Offensively, he's off the Richter. Defensively is where he can improve. Athletically is where he can improve. But nonetheless, number 2 in the NBA right now for me. Number 3 in the NBA. This is where it really gets tough. Because I could go with, a Jason Tatum right now who's leading the Boston Celtics. I'm going with Anthony Davis. We talked about Anthony Davis in the previous segment regarding the Lakers and what I think of him. But he has kind of just caught me by surprise this year. I know some people had good expectations for Anthony Davis. I didn't know if he could get back to this level. I knew if Anthony Davis is at his peak level, he's up there with Giannis as far as like being a top 3, top 2 player in the NBA. I didn't know if he could get to that peak again. He has. He's gotten there, especially within the last 10 games. But you look at Anthony Davis on the season, 27.3 points per game. That's 11th in the NBA. 12.3 rebounds per game. That's first in the NBA. 59% from the field. 2.3 blocks per game. That's third in the NBA. And 1.3 steals per game. Literally, Lakers need to obviously start winning some games. You could literally, if they can get on the plus side of wins, you start putting AD in that MVP conversation and the Defensive Player of the Year conversation for what he's doing all around the court. As I mentioned, it's arguable. You could argue Tatum, obviously Boston Celtics record, but this isn't an MVP standings list. This is the players that are playing the best in the NBA right now. Tatum belongs here in the top 4. He's averaging 30.8 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, 4.2 assists per game, 48% from the field, 1 steal, 1 block per game. He's fourth in the NBA in scoring right now, obviously at the 30.8 points per game. But the main thing here is his leadership, what he's able to do for this Boston Celtics team, consistency night to night, doing the most for this Boston Celtics team, getting them over the hump, and ultimately putting them where they are right now in the NBA, which is at the top. This guy is playing at a higher level than I've ever seen him play, and I only expect him to keep it up. You talk about Luka, same thing for Jason Tatum here, who is in the same, I wouldn't say in the same age group. Luka is quite younger, but still hasn't even hit his peak yet, I believe, in Tatum, who's going to get a championship one of these years, let's be honest. But I don't think Tatum's even reached his peak yet. but he's number 4 in the NBA right now as far as the way players are playing. Number 5, I have my man Kevin Durant. My man does not. The reason I say my man, I hate the Brooklyn Nets, but Kevin Durant does not ever hold his tongue, and I love that about him. I love the authenticity of Kevin Durant. But nonetheless, he rounds out my top 5 players right now. He's averaging 29.9 points per game. That's 6th in the NBA. 6.6 rebounds per game. 5.4 assists per game. Shooting 55.3% from the field. That's efficient KD. 1.8 blocks per game, which is 5th in the NBA. So he's doing it on the defensive end as well. He's actually doing it on both sides. He's doing it all, assisting, rebounding, scoring the ball. Obviously had that insane streak to start the season of 25-plus point games. But nonetheless, KD just doing KD things, right? He could easily get up into that top 3 conversation. Nets start performing better. He may even elevate his game to an even higher level. Maybe when they get all things rolling, get Ben Simmons back in the mix there. But love what KD's doing. The Nets have actually been pretty hot in their last 10. They're 7-3. So love what KD's doing. He's playing some really good ball right now. Coming in at number 6, you cannot forget about the finals MVP, Steph Curry. It's such a pleasure to say that about Steph now. Coming in at number 6, Steph Curry's been playing out of his mind. Don't get it twisted here. It's more or less just wanting to see a more efficient Steph Curry and a more beneficial Steph Curry for the Golden State Warriors. I don't want Steph to have to do it all every night, but he is capable of that. But nonetheless, I want to see Steph get his teammates involved a little bit more. He is averaging 7 assists per game, so I'm not trying to diss him in that standpoint. But I just want to see him play more of a winning type of basketball. It seems like he's still in that maybe in that NBA Finals Steph mode. And maybe I'm going in the wrong direction. Maybe it's not all on Steph. I know it's defensive deficiencies that the Warriors are dealing with right now as well. But Steph comes in at number 6 just because the Warriors are simply struggling as a team right now, and I just can't put them over some of these other guys. I think KD, as far as an all-around level, he's playing at a higher level, and then the top 4 are unarguable in my opinion. But Steph, still in the world, you grand scheme of things, you would still put him in that top 3 category, I think. But as far as the way he's playing right now, night-to-night basis, I have him at number 6. 30 points per game, that's 5th in the NBA. 6.6 rebounds per game, 7 assists per game, 49.9% from the field, 43.2% from the three-point line, which is really efficient for the amount of threes that he shoots. And he leads the NBA in three-point makes per game at 5.1. So, I mean, Steph is doing everything he can for this Warriors. I'm sorry, I may have misspoke on Steph, quite honestly, earlier in that segment. But he's doing everything he can here. I think Steph start to get on a hot streak, get the Warriors moved up a little bit. He could see himself rise on this list, of course. Coming in at number 7, this is a guy who I think could be quite honestly argued in the top 5. You could put him there. Devin Booker, 28.4 points per game. That's 9th in the NBA right now. 4.9 rebounds per game, 5.9 assists per game. He's distributing the ball well. 48.8% field goal percentage. And he's got the number 1 team in the Western Conference. This is all without CP3. So he's doing it all for this team. This is a team that had their owner, Robert Sarver, get dismissed before the season starts, right? Caught everybody by surprise, dealing with a ton of drama. Same thing for Jason Tatum at number 4. These guys are dealing with a lot of stuff. They're having to cover up a lot of holes, a lot of weaknesses, a lot of drama that's going on within these organizations. Makes their job even more commendable for what they're doing. But Devin Booker does everything for this team. He is the leader of this team. He is the personality that drives this team. And without him, who knows where this Phoenix Suns team would be early on this season with no CP3, Jay Crowder demanding a trade. Obviously, you had the DeAndre Ayton situation over the offseason, but he's playing well. Nonetheless, Devin Booker's been very impressive. And I would put him in my top 3 for MVP right now, quite honestly. Number 8 on the list, we're going to go D. Mitch. I told you he was in here. Number 8 is where he comes to life. 29 points per game. That's 7th in the NBA. 4 rebounds per game, 4.9 assists per game. He's shooting 49.6% from the field, 42.4% from the three-point line. That's the best in his career. I mentioned it earlier as a big elevation to his game, getting up over that 40% mark, over 42%. That's really good in this day and age in the NBA for the amount of 3-pointers that are being shot. And you combine that with his athleticism, his ability to get in the paint, his ability to spread the ball around, his athleticism. That makes D. Mitch what he is right here, a top 10 player in the NBA right now. And he's another guy, if the Cavs can continue to play well, if they continue to find that groove, that chemistry with one another, you could see him rise on this list. He continues to excel. But D. Mitch is playing out of his mind right now. Coming in at number 9, I know this is going to draw some controversy, but I'm willing to take it on the chin. I got Joel Embiid, and I get it. The only thing you can argue, honestly, Joel Embiid statistically could be in the top 5, top 4 statistically as far as what he's doing this season. But I would also be on the other side of that. Why is he number 9? Because of his availability. We get into this every single season with Joel, and we need to see him on the court consistently. It's why the Sixers are 500 right now. It's why they can't get anything going. That and James Harden and Maxey have been out as well. But you need Joel. He's your best player. You need him on the court at all times, or you don't have a good shot against anybody, if we're being quite honest. Joel Embiid on the season, 31.9 points per game, 9.6 rebounds per game, 4.9 assists per game. That's the one. That's the part I love right there. It's a career high for him. That is the part I love. 5 assists per game. Need more of that from Joel. That's when the Sixers are at optimal level, is when Joel Embiid is spreading the ball around. 4.9 assists per game, 51.4% from the field, 1.8 blocks per game, 1.1 steals per game. Just need more games, man. We need more availability. We need it on a more consistent basis from Joel Embiid. But nonetheless, he comes in at number 9. You can't argue against him being a top 10 player as far as his level of play when he's on the court right now. Coming in at number 10, we have Ja Morant. Got to give some props to my man Ja. You know, I was watching that Memphis and Philly game, and I was starting to ask myself, it's a crazy question for me as a Philly fan. I was starting to ask myself, it's hard to compare guards and like big men. Is Ja just a better player than Joel Embiid? It's something I went over in my head. It's hard to equate. It's hard to put into stats and production. You certainly could equate it to winning and team effect, but you could also argue Memphis Grizzlies just have better roster construction. But nonetheless, when you're having that conversation, that means Ja Morant is really good. He's way younger than Embiid, right? But still has a similar impact to the game for his team. Ja Morant on the season, 28.5 points per game. That's 8th in the NBA. 6.3 rebounds per game, which is incredible for a point guard. 7.5 assists per game. That's 9th in the NBA. Shooting 37% from the three-point line, which is huge. Talk about Donovan Mitchell, his athleticism. Ja Morant's athleticism is on another level. Obviously, the three-point shooting isn't as good, but he is younger than Mitchell. He has time to get up over 40%, and he's well on his way. This is the best he's shot from the three-point line in his career. 1.1 steals per game as well for Ja Morant. But nonetheless, I'd imagine Desmond Bane, they're going to be right up at the top of the Western Conference again. But he's keeping them afloat there, right in the top 5, even without Desmond Bane, even with all the injury turnover throughout this season. Ja is keeping the Memphis Grizzlies afloat. And another guy that should be in that MVP conversation, maybe not in the top 3, but definitely in the top 5 or 6, I would say. So Ja rounds out the top 10. Back up through the list, we go Ja at number 10, Joel Embiid number 9, number 8, Donovan Mitchell, number 7, Devin Booker, number 6, Steph Curry, number 5, Kevin Durant, number 4, Jason Tatum, number 3, Anthony Davis, number 2, Luka Doncic, and number 1, Giannis. That rounds up the top 10. Let me know what you guys think of my top 10 players right now in the NBA. Honorable mentions to the list, Nikola Jokic. I know in reality, he is a top 10 player in the NBA in the grand scheme. He's just not playing like it right now. LeBron is arguably a top 10 player in the NBA. It's not to diss LeBron. I just don't think he's playing better than the people at the bottom of this list. He's certainly not playing better than the top 5. You talk about SGA from OKC, right? He's been balling out of his mind. I need to see it more consistently throughout the season to believe it. But this man hoops. He's an honorable mention there. And I even thought about putting him in 8 through 10. I thought about SGA the whole time. And then finally, Jaylen Brown. You talk about that Celtics team. Jason Tatum's up in the top 5. Jaylen Brown is a top 15 NBA player right now. So you're talking about 2 athletic wings on that Boston Celtics team, 2 top 15. Not only athletic wings, but 2 top 15 players in the NBA, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think of the list. Nonetheless, it was really tough to come up with. So take it easy on me if you can. But give me your top 5, your top 10 in the comments. I would love to read them, and I will certainly get back to you with my thoughts. Guys, final part of the night. Well, excuse me, we've got 2 more parts, but it kind of all falls in the same lane. We're going to go through Wednesday night picks, and then I'll get into the best bet of the night. So Wednesday night picks, as you know, I always have to go back to my last week. How did I do? I told you earlier in the show, if you missed it, I was 9-4 last week. That was my best week so far of this NBA season. It's been wild on Wednesdays. We usually always have a jam-packed slate, so plenty of games to pick through. That's why I love Wednesdays. But nonetheless, 9-4 last week was my best record for any given week throughout the NBA season so far. So maybe, just maybe, I'm getting hot. So we're going to go through the games for tonight, and I'm going to give you my picks as far as who's going to win said game. We start with the LA Clippers at the Orlando Magic. As I mentioned earlier, I think the LA Clippers are a top 10 team, with or without Kawhi Leonard. With Paul George healthy, I think the Clippers are a top 10 team. I trust Paul George's health quite a bit more than Kawhi Leonard's, and that's why I point that out. Nonetheless, Kawhi and PG are in tonight. The Clippers will be without Norman Powell, Luke Kennard, Marcus Morris Sr., and John Wall. So there's still going to be quite a few guys missing there for him. But nonetheless, Kawhi, PG-13, that gives them a big boost. Clippers are a 6.5-point favorite in this one, which I think is fair even on the road against an Orlando team that, quite honestly, they're just too young, right? They don't have the experience. They don't have it all put together to just win yet. But on top of that, they're going through some injuries as well. No Gary Harris, no Mo Bamba, no Jalen Suggs, no Wendell Carter Jr. So they're without a ton of guys. I did see Banchero, though, move back to the top of NBA's rookie ladder, NBA.com rookie ladder. So that's interesting. Might have to do a deep dive on Banchero next week. Nonetheless, in this LA Clippers game at Orlando, I have the Clippers winning, obviously. I think they're just the better team, the team that's built to win right now. The next game, we have the Charlotte Hornets at the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn is actually a 10-point favorite in this one. I mentioned Brooklyn has been playing some really good ball lately. 7-3 in their last 10. Ben Simmons will be out tonight. I believe that is his 4th straight game he's out. LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, both out for the Charlotte Hornets for the foreseeable future, from my understanding. But nonetheless, Brooklyn at home. I'm going to go with Brooklyn. They're playing good ball right now. They're hot. They should be able to take care of business at home against the Charlotte Hornets without their stars. So we'll go with Brooklyn in that one. Although 10 points is a wide spread. Have to see that to believe it. Coming to the next game, we have the Atlanta Hawks versus the New York Knicks. New York Knicks are actually a 2-point favorite in this one, which I find interesting because the Hawks right now, I believe, they're actually the 4th seed in the Western Conference. Now, mind you, they have lost one. They're 4-6 in their last 10, so they're not playing their best basketball right now. That being said, Trae Young did not play last game. There's a lot of controversy about Trae Young not playing last game, not being on the bench for his team last game. Apparently, a little bit of an argument between him and Nate McMillan, which you never want to see between your star and your head coach, right? It just is never going to end well. It never turns out well in most situations. Seems like he's back in the lineup tonight. Obviously, they don't want to stir up that much drama if you keep out Trae Young for the length, say, of a Kyrie Irving, right? That's going to just stir up a lot of drama in Atlanta that they don't need. So Trae Young looks to be back tonight. There's no John Collins for Atlanta right now, but that just doesn't seem to waver my feeling on this game. I'm not high on the New York Knicks. Don't understand why they're the favorite in this one, but maybe I'll find out tonight. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Hawks. I think you look at Trae Young in the Garden tonight, a return game, a game after he was, quite honestly, he didn't want people in his business about what happened. Maybe he's embarrassed. Maybe he's upset that got leaked, whatever the case may be. I think Trae Young comes out, balls out tonight, shuts all that drama down, lets everybody know it's still his Madison Square Garden. He's still Ice Trey. I got the Hawks winning that one tonight. After that, we have the Lakers at the Toronto Raptors. This one's an easy one for me. Toronto's a 12-point favorite in this one. No LeBron, no AD. I know it sounds like a trap game for Toronto, but nonetheless, Lakers aren't playing that good. Russ ain't that good, right? I said give him his flowers earlier, but we ain't giving him those type of flowers. Toronto Raptors are a really good team, really well-rounded team, well-coached team. They take care of business at home tonight. 12 points is a little wide. I would lean for the Lakers to maybe cover that. I wouldn't bet on it. Quite honestly, I wouldn't bet on it. But nonetheless, I have the Raptors winning that game. No LeBron, no AD for the Lakers. Next, we have the Washington Wizards at the Chicago Bulls. Coming into this one, we have Chicago as a 5-point favorite. No Bradley Beal for the Washington Wizards. I'm going to go with the Bulls in this one, although they've been very underwhelming this season. The Wizards have been they've cooled down definitely in the past few. They've lost 3 in a row, actually. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They were floating around in the top of the Eastern Conference for a good part of the front part of the season, but it seems like they're coming back down to earth. Nonetheless, you look at what the Chicago Bulls are doing. They're not much better, right? They're 3-7 in their last 10. I'm looking at Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan being available for this game. I think that's enough to get them past the dropping and falling Wizards right now. But the Bulls, they need to get some dubs. They need to get it together, right? The next, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Memphis Grizzlies. So we got the Thunder visiting Memphis. Memphis is an 8-point favorite in this one. Fair enough. Just wanted to shout out SGA once again. I know he didn't make my top 10. Maybe I'll regret that as the season goes on. But he's balling right now. He's hooping. He's doing it all for that OKC team, a very young team, but he is the star for the future. You talk about Chet Holmgren coming back into the picture next season. That's going to be a duo to watch out for. That's a beautiful, young, talented star duo to have for your future as long as Chet can stay healthy. This one should be kind of fun, I would imagine. SGA, John Morant, if I'm them, I'm looking forward to those matchups. I think this one's going to be a fun one when you talk about guard play. Obviously, I have the Memphis Grizzlies winning this one at home. They need to put some wins together, get themselves back in the mix with the top of the Western Conference. I'm going with Memphis in that one. Next, we have the Sacramento Kings at the Milwaukee Bucks. Interesting enough, both of these teams are hot right now, both 7-3 in their last 10. The Milwaukee Bucks are the 6-point favorites at home, rightfully so. I'm going to go with the Bucks. But this is a barometer game for a Sacramento Kings team that has been playing really well, scoring the ball really well. Bucks are a very good defensive team. Let's see what the Sacramento Kings can do on the road against the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. If they don't get blown out, I think that's a good game, honestly, for them. The Milwaukee Bucks are figuring some things out with Chris Middleton right now. But nonetheless, in Milwaukee, a game, after the Milwaukee Bucks kind of shoot themselves in the foot, I expect the Milwaukee Bucks to play well tonight. And we'll see what the Sacramento Kings got out there with De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis. But they've both been playing some really good basketball right now. I'll go with the Milwaukee Bucks in that one at home. Next, we have the Indiana Pacers at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Miles Turner, Tyrese Halliburton, Chris Duarte, all questionable for the Indiana Pacers. Minnesota is a 5-point favorite in this one. No Tyrese Halliburton in that game. No Miles Turner. I'm going to go with Minnesota even without Cat right now. Anthony Edwards too much. D'Angelo Russell still has some stuff to prove to me. But nonetheless, the Minnesota Timberwolves should take this one at home against the dwindled down Indiana Pacers. We'll see how that goes, though. Next, we have the Detroit Pistons at the New Orleans Pelicans. No Brandon Ingram tonight. You got the Pelicans favored by 11 points in this one. I'm going to go with the Pelicans. I don't know if they blow them out. They can. They definitely can. This is a deep roster, even without Brandon Ingram. Still have C.J. McCollum. Still have Zion Williamson leading the way there. I think they can still get this done. 11's a wide spread, but you're at home. Why not? I'll go with the Pelicans in that one. Next, we have the Golden State Warriors at the Utah Jazz. Utah is an 8-point favorite in this one. If you're wondering why, it's because no Draymond Green, no Steph Curry tonight, and no Andrew Wiggins in this one. I'm going to go with the Utah Jazz at home. This isn't a game that the Golden State seems like they care about. That's not to say that they can't win this game. The Jazz they're not a team that we thought coming into this season is some world beater or would even be where they are right now. which is kind of coming back down to reality. They're ninth in the Western Conference. They were at number 1 and number 2 for the longest. They're coming back down to reality. It's not unwinnable for Golden State, but I am going to go with the Jazz at home. They just have a little bit more talent with that unit when you take out those 3 players for Golden State. Let's see what Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole can do as the splash bros for the night, though. Final game of this evening. It's the best game of the evening. It's my favorite matchup of the evening. We have the Boston Celtics at the Phoenix Suns. You have the Boston Celtics minus 1.5 point favorite in this one in Phoenix. Celtics, it speaks to the Celtics and what they have done to start this season and the level that they're playing at right now. Because Phoenix Suns is the number 1 team in the Western Conference, right? Celtics are number 1 in the Eastern Conference. This is in Phoenix. This is a West Coast trip for the Boston Celtics. They're still favored against the number 1 seed in the Western Conference on the road. I just think, Boston's too good. I'll be honest with you. I think if Phoenix Suns want to look at themselves to be competing with the Boston Celtics, they're going to need Chris Paul back. They're going to need to be at full strength. But this is a nice barometer game once again. How good are the Phoenix Suns without Chris Paul, with Mikal Bridges as a legitimate number 2 option? I'm interested to see how this plays out tonight. You're at home. You need to kind of play tough, right? This is a good game for Phoenix to go out and win at home. And I imagine both teams come in with a little bit more extra motivation, given that it is both number 1 seeds in their respective conferences. I'm still going to go with Boston tonight. Phoenix will have to prove it to me, even at home against the Boston Celtics. I just think they're on a different level right now. And you talk about a game where Celtics should be locked in tonight. This is another prove-it game, another barometer game for them as contenders, as teams that are trying to separate themselves from the pack and show that they are legitimate championship contenders. So I'm still going to go with Boston in this one. We'll see. It should be a battle nonetheless. But that wraps up the Wednesday night picks. I'll go through them once again, just really quickly here. I have the Clippers winning in Orlando. I have the Brooklyn Nets winning at home against Charlotte. I have the Atlanta Hawks winning in New York against the Knicks. I have the Toronto Raptors winning at home against the Lakers without AD and LeBron. I have the Chicago Bulls beating the Wizards at home. I have the Memphis Grizzlies beating OKC at home. I have the Sacramento Kings visiting the Milwaukee Bucks. I have the Milwaukee Bucks taking that one. Indiana Pacers at Minnesota Timberwolves. I have the T-Wolves in that one. Detroit at New Orleans. I have the Pelicans. Smash that one. GSW at Utah, Golden State Warriors, that is. I have the Utah Jazz in that one. And then finally, the Celtics at the Suns. I have the Celtics in that one. Let's see how we do, man. We'll come back next week, guys. If you want to tune in to next week's show, make sure to hit that subscribe button on the DSM channel and turn the notifications on. You'll be notified right when I go live at the same time next week. That's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on DSM Media YouTube channel. But, guys, meet me here next week. I'll give you the update, kind of how I did. Like I said, I'm going to hold myself accountable, make sure I'm giving you guys quality picks every time I hop on here. Best bet of the night, my favorite part, make some money. Got 2 simple ones for you. So best bet of the night, and then I also have something you can lay for your risk-free bet of the night. If you go on DraftKings, if you use DraftKings Sportsbook, they are offering a risk-free NBA bet for tonight's slate. So I got a nice play for you guys there. We're going to send it. It's risk-free. I'm going to send it for a moonshot. But nonetheless, best bet of the night comes out to plus 268. We're going straight money lines. I'm going Brooklyn money line at home against Charlotte. 10-point favorite. That should be easy money if Brooklyn can take care of business. I'm going with New Orleans money line at home, right, against the Detroit Pistons. That should be something they can take care of. You have the Detroit Pistons on the tail end of a back-to-back. This should be a win for New Orleans. You have the Sacramento Kings traveling to Milwaukee. This is a prove-it game for Sacramento. This is a figure-it-out game for Milwaukee. I have Milwaukee money line in this game because I think I think they look at this as a challenge. Come into our house. They need to get a W, get things right with Chris Middleton. I like Milwaukee in that one. And then the last money line play of the parlay is going to be the Boston Celtics over the Phoenix Suns. I get it. You might not feel comfortable with that. I'm riding the Celtics tonight. That's why I threw it on the parlay. That's what makes it all work. But nonetheless, those are my 4 legs: Brooklyn money line, New Orleans money line, Milwaukee money line, and Boston money line. Comes out to plus 268. That is the best bet of the night, and nonetheless what I am laying. As far as the risk-free bet, this comes out to plus 1214. So $10 risk-free bet for myself comes out to $131.41 payout. Trae Young returning to the Garden, but also returning for the Atlanta Hawks after being whatever that was, held out of the game, benched. I don't even know what that was, him sitting out, whatever the case may be. He's making his return tonight. He has something to prove. Got Trae Young, 25-plus points in the Garden tonight versus the Knicks. Talk about the Milwaukee and Sacramento game. De'Aaron Fox. The Kings are going to need it tonight because things aren't going to come easy for Sabonis. You got him worrying about Giannis. How are they going to stop Giannis? How are they going to stop Chris Middleton? They need De'Aaron Fox to lead the way tonight. I have De'Aaron Fox with 20-plus points against the Milwaukee Bucks. Then we get to the New Orleans game. Zion Williamson. I didn't touch the points, didn't touch rebounds, assists, nothing you would think of here. Going to go with Zion Williamson, 1+ steal in this game. I think this is a game where Zion's going to be able to kind of do things that he doesn't normally do, or maybe get back. Maybe these are things that he normally does, but get back to those things. This is a team where he can exercise his full capabilities. I think he gets in the passing lanes tonight, gets a steal, gets a nice dunk on a fast break. So I'm going with Zion, 1+ steal tonight against the Detroit Pistons, who are going to be tired, right? They're going to be a little lackadaisical, a little unfocused on the tail end of a back-to-back. Finally, we have a guard matchup from this this OKC Memphis matchup. And I have SGA, 25+ points tonight. I'm sure he's looking forward to going up against Ja Morant. And same thing for Ja, 25+ points tonight. I expect both of these guards to combine for 50+ points for us to hit this parlay. I think it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a lot of prove it barometer type of play from Ja Morant, from SGA tonight. So I'm going with 25+ points from both of them. And then finally, I'm ending the parlay off. Jason Tatum. I talked about him tonight. This matchup with the Phoenix Suns, you look at Devin Booker on the other side. That's the MVP candidate for the Suns. You got Jason Tatum, the MVP candidate for the Boston Celtics. I'm going with Jason Tatum as the leading scorer of the game tonight. He's going to outscore everybody. Jaylen Brown, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, whoever you want to throw up in the mix. Jason Tatum will lead the way in scoring tonight. His team will need it on the road in a hostile environment against the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. This is a big matchup. I expect him to get up for it. I expect the Celtics to get up for it. That's why I'm smashing the Boston money line, but I'm also smashing Jason Tatum as the leading scorer in this Boston-Phoenix game. Comes out to plus 1214. So that's Trae Young, 25+ points. De'Aaron Fox, 20+ points. Zion, 1+ steal. SGA and Ja, 25+ points. Jason Tatum, leading scorer in the Boston-Phoenix game, plus 1214. $10 risk-free bet equals $131.41. Guys, if you're feeling risky, risk it, right? You're not going to lose anything. That's the point of a risk-free bet. That's why we send it for that one. And then the best bet, that's the one I would encourage you to lay. That's what I'm rolling with tonight. Comes out to plus 268. Brooklyn money line, New Orleans money line, Milwaukee money line, and Boston money line. Got 4 legs there that need to hit, and 4 games that I'm fairly confident in. But guys, that is going to be all that I have for you in this episode of Scotty Talks NBA. As I mentioned, I wanted to get this one out pre-recorded, wanted to take my time with it because we had a lot to catch up on. Next week, I will be back live 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That way we can all chit-chat in the comments, get you guys involved in the show. But nonetheless, be sure, leave your suggestions for top 10 power rankings, leave your suggestions for top 10 players in the NBA in the comments. I will certainly get back to you in the comments, respond, and we can have some fun, nice dialogue there about what's going on in the NBA. That's what this is all about, keeping you guys in the loop, keeping myself in the loop, and making sure we're all informed when we're watching the NBA and know what's going on. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you're not already subscribed to DSM Media, be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That is where we are trying our hardest to grow. That is where we want the most help with our growth. And, of course, hit the like button on the video if you enjoyed the content. I certainly enjoy providing it for you. Let me know if you're enjoying what you're watching, what you're listening to, like the video. But nonetheless, guys, have a great rest of your evening there. Hopefully the Sixers can turn things around. We'll be back on Saturday with Scotty Talks Sixers. But nonetheless, guys, have a great Wednesday night. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next Wednesday. Peace.